I'm fishy. If you didn't know before, this video isn't one I'm going to promote or be pushing on my pages. If you found it, it's probably just by accident. But I've been struggling with a lot of things, especially since the hurricanes, since Harvey came through, and then following that Irma, and then later Maria. This has been a year for a lot of destruction and catastrophe, and so I've been trying to deal with the emotional things and the baggage that comes with that. So I thought I would call this Raw Fish. No makeup, still wearing Harvey hair, don't care, a month after the hurricane. But I wanted to try to do this here rather than write it down. I seem to get in trouble when I write things down. It's not working right, or it doesn't get received the right way, or somebody, stumbles onto it before I'm ready to share it, if I'm ready to share it at all. But I thought I could do a disciplined way to talk about things that I'm struggling with here, and just put it out there and hold myself accountable that way. And that's really what I'm doing here. I'm sitting in the middle of George Bush Park, which is also known as Addicks Reservoir, which is also known as Barker Reservoir, and it's also known as Lake Barker right now. There's one road that goes through east-west, one road that goes through north-south that you can get in and around, but the place is still very much underwater a month later. And I feel like that's a good analogy for where I am. Dr. Young at Second Baptist did a message recently on the first book of Ecclesiastes, and it was about, it's the vanity, all is vanity passage. And part of it's just really been digging into my skull and into my soul as I've been considering it. One of the verses, that which has been done is that which will be done. So there's nothing new under the sun. That's kind of a daunting thought when you really dig into it, that there's nothing new, that everything you do, every impulse you have is something that's an echo of something that's happened many times before, just because that's the way human nature is. And we're all trying to figure out what we're doing, where we're doing, where we are in our lives. And I don't know, there's so many places I think that I need help with, for sure. Recent events have really unmoored me from things that I thought were important, things that I clung to, things that I did that I thought were important. I've done a lot of politics in 20 years, and it's very easy right now to just let that go, to take my fingers off of it and float away from that sort of thing. And that's a good thing in one way, but it's also very frightening, because I don't know where I'm supposed to be moored. I don't know what I am supposed to be tethered. And so it's a little bit intimidating to try to figure out where I am as a result of all these things. A lot of people who didn't have any damage have been able to go back to their lives like normal, and I struggle with that. I don't know that I'm ready for normal. I don't know that normal's where I want to be anymore. Maybe that's a good thing. And I have no storm damage or any real difficulty to contend with that I didn't have in June or July or early August. Nothing has really changed for me in terms of my life situation or anything like that. But I'm looking at tragedies that other people have had, and I'm thinking about all the noise that goes around in my head that I consider tragedies, and it's not really comforting to say, well, your tragedies are less because you're not dealing with X. They're still tragedies to me, but I'm trying to get out of myself in recognizing that other people have more immediate needs. And it's a difficult thing to do. One of the things is just practicing humility and realizing that you aren't the center of the universe. And when you come to that realization in your life, and everybody does at some point get there, when you come to that realization, you begin to navigate how you behave with other people, or how you interact, or what your priorities are. And sometimes we tighten that up and really contract our lives, and sometimes we expand our lives a whole bunch and let other people in and do other things with other people. But we're all in that place, I think, of saying, well, even though my life is not as bad as that thing over there that happened to that person, or that tragedy that they're going through, we're still surrounded by that sort of thing. And there's schools of thought that say, if you immerse yourself in helping others, if you immerse yourself in dealing with crises that other people are going through, and walking through that and helping them, that it lessens your own, or it takes the concentration off of yours. And that might be true. I found that at times that does work for me in terms of taking my mind off things, but they come back. They always come back. And so I struggle with that as well. And thinking about what humility is, and whether that is giving yourself unselfishly to help someone else, being concerned more with them. I think one of the definitions about it was not thinking of yourself so often. It isn't a measure of how well you think of yourself, how good you think you are, as much as it is how often you reference how you feel. And at the same time, I'm struggling with that in terms of, if I feel as though I have something to deal with in my life that I need to manage, to a problem I need to work through, I don't know how to get better other than spending some time, considerable time, thinking about myself and the way that I behave, and the way that I react, and the way that I think. So all that's swirling around in my head right now. But I found this quote that I remembered from C.S. Lewis. I'm pretty sure it's from Mere Christianity, and talking about humility. And it said, to even get near humility, even for a moment, is like a drink of cold water to a man in a desert. And I thought about that. That's a really good thing. If what he says is true here, that humility is a relief from being imprisoned with yourself all the time, then I'm fascinated by that concept. He went on a little further. Do not imagine that if you meet a really humble man, that he will be what most people call humble nowadays. He will not be a sort of greasy, smarmy person who's always telling you that of course he is nobody. Probably all you will think about him is that he seemed a cheerful, intelligent chap who took a real interest in what you said to him. And that last phrase, took a real interest in what you said to him. A humble person is a listening person, I suppose. A humble person is willing to take in information and things from other people, rather than viewing everything solely through their lens. And while the rest of the world may be arguing over football players and pledges of allegiance and who's right and who's defending what and who's having their say and who's being a bore and a threat and a really overall nasty person, I want out of that. I don't want to be in that environment where that is the most important thing going on. But if I look on my social media right now, that's the most important thing to most people posting. And I'm weary of it. And I'd like to not think about my own self-importance or my own dignity all the time, and preserving my sense of self. I'd rather be released from that. So those are my thoughts today. My mission is to try to figure out how I can think of myself less often and try to help maybe through helping other people, but at least try to help the tone and the mood. There's so much going on in my own head, already so many things that are taking up the national attention span seem trivial, and then on top of that you layer these tragedies, and it's so much more difficult to care about things that I used to care about. And I just felt like I needed to explore that today, to put that thought out there. So no edits, no cuts, no retakes. This is just your raw fish for the day. Thanks for watching.